This is presentation of my group. For this video, we discuss all about social change. What is social change? Change is an enduring historical force with noticeable variation through. Change may be hardly discernible or easily observable. It may be constructive or destructive. But whatever its nature, it occurs everywhere and every time. Change has been regarded in many ways as means process, an end, or even social movement, a state of affairs involving a program, an ideology, and a problem. The use of new objects or ideas to reach a certain goals. Level of human action and change. We have 4 levels. The first level is individual personality. Has historically been the spur of psychologists whether they pursue a psychoanalytic or a behaviorist framework. The second level, interaction among individuals, constitutes the area of psychology, specifically student group dynamics. It consists of the behaviorist perspective, including personality, interaction, and self-theory. The third level, group of social system, has generally been of interest sociologists. The group is the unit of analysis, particularly the emergent properties of the group where the social level is felt to reside. And the last, the fourth level, cultural system, is the concern of anthropology. Parsons, 1966, 5, said the meaning and intention of human acts are formed in terms of symbol system along with the codes through which they operate. In pattern, the focus most generally on the universal aspect of human society, language. Cultural change refers to all alteration affecting new traits or traits complete in cultural context and structure. It may involve such elements as Davis, 1946, 622 to 623. First, the development of oral and written language and other means of communications. Second, modification in technology. Third, shift in economic principles. Fourth, the historical evolution of religious ritual and dogma, educational philosophy, and political ideology. Fifth, variation in musical style and other art forms. Sixth, transition in scientific theories. And the last, 7, alteration in the form and rule of social interaction.
Good day. My name is Ana Patricia Pilomina F. Bulosan. For today's video, we are talking about the theories of social change. The technological change and the social change are both specific parts of the cultural change. Technological change. Technological change can be defined as an increases in the outputs possible with the given levels of inputs through the process of innovation and diffusion. So, what is the social change? The social change is is defined the social change as a transformation of cultures, institutions, and function. Most change isn't instantaneous in society. Change is often very slow.
Hi, my name is Brandon, and what is conflict theory? Characterized by the assumptions that change in endemic to all social organism and focusing on the conditions that tend toward instability and consequence and we have rise and fall theories characterized by the assumptions that societies and cultures and civilizations regress as well as grow, that all societies do not move in the same direction. We have Apple boom that will be 1971 and 9 to 10, and we have there's also modernizations or diachrome and theories and nonlinear change. Modernization theories are concerned with um, correlates of industrializations. Modernization has numerous definitions, of all which relates of some ways to process the characteristics of industrializations. And Levy said defines the modernizations directly in terms of technology in that he considers the any society that more modernize the greater than ratio of eliminate to enemy power of source, the greater than extents um, to which human efforts are multiplied by use of tools. And we have a Smelser of 1966 and 110 to 111 conceived the modernization as related of the economic development, at least for this distinct for in related process.
In the realm of technology, a developing society is changing from simple and traditionalized technique towards the application of scientific knowledge. In agriculture, the developing society evolves from subsistence farming towards the commercial production of agricultural foods, which means specialization in cash crops, purchase of non-agricultural products in the market, and often agricultural wage labor. In industry, the developing society undergoes a transition from the use of human and animal power towards industrialization proper, or men working for wage at power-driven machine, which produce commodities outside the community of production. In in ecological arrangements, the developing society moves from the farm and village towards urban concentration. Multiple factors in social change. Social change is closely intertwined with cultural and technological change. Multiple factors underlie its broad and complex nature, like the phenomenon in the physical science. Social change in the social science displays rate, direction, form, type, and cause, order, stimulants, and barriers in its emerge, development, and decline. The study of the factors necessitates the delineation of the length of time, the geographical area, and the group to be.
Direction of social change closely associated with rate and form is the direction of the social change. The three may be measured in relation to the objectives that a person or a group wishes to achieve on a long range or short range basis. The rapidly of or slowness of social change may be defined in accordance with attentive schedules set for the attainment of special objectives, which in turn contribute towards the fulfillment or a general goal. The form of social change may be deduced on the basis of repetition or, or continuity of change in the period of 10 years. The direction of social change may be evaluation in the light of its consistency with past or present conditions. The direction of social change is closely related to the rate of form of social change. The three can be measured in relation to the long-term or short-term goals that an individual or group wishes to achieve. Direction of social change closely associated with rate and form is the direction of the social change. The three may be measured in relation to the objectives that a person or a group wishes to achieve on a long range or short range basis. The rapidly of or slowness of social change may be defined in accordance with attentive schedules set for the attainment of special objectives, which in turn contribute towards the fulfillment or a general goal. The form of social change may be deduced on the basis of repetition or, or continuity of change in the period of 10 years. The direction of social change may be evaluation in the light of its consistency with past or present conditions. The direction of social change is closely related to the rate of form of social change. The three can be measured in relation to the long-term or short-term goals that an individual or group wishes to achieve.
The sources of social change. Culture changes not only by the simple accumulation of elements. Changes are also brought about by the selective acceptance, addiction, or rejection, discarding of or the change emphasis on existing elements. Throughout the history of humanity, gains as well as losses in culture have been the result of selective rather than a random process. An element of culture is accepted, resisted, or rejected not merely because it is fundamentally useful or useless, but because of its relationship with the rest of the culture which may or may not assimilate it. Changes in cultures always always involve innovations. An innovation is any thought, behavior, or thing that is new because it is qualitatively different from existing forms. It is the development or recognition of the elements or pattern, material or non-material, in a culture. It includes both discovery and invention, as well as minor changes too small to be classified as culture, for it involves the reinterpretation or new combination of all culture, traits or complexes, or selections of elements from old patterns to create new patterns. It is stimulated by the re-examination of knowledge through culture contact. For example, innovation is itself a stimulus to further innovation. Thus, the most important point about an innovation is the rearrangement of the interrelationships of its elements and not the increase or decrease of these elements. Social change can be defined as the way in which human interactions, relationships, behavior patterns, and cultural norms change over time. These changes ultimately transform cultural and social institutions, concepts, and rules, which will inevitably impact society for the long haul. These changes is transformations are not necessarily good or bad, but they are profound on the surface. We may not notice social change. It can take years, even centuries, of action to cause one change.
The order of social change, between or within the societies, as a whole or in parts, there is continuous strain for consistency between forces that either promote or prevent change. Those that prevent change struggle to preserve the status because change is inherent in very culture. The change promoting force in the long run with over change preventing forces. In the development of social change, the order of service of stage is traceable in various ways. Varying level of acceptance of innovations by members of a certain society at given time have been identified by long. Number 1. Awareness of innovation. Initial awareness of the innovation by few, usually the elite, is spread of masses. Number 2. Interest in the innovation. When people become aware of an innovation, they usually develop an interest to know more about it. Number 3. Experimentation with an innovation. The testing of innovation may be limited or extensive, superficial, or intensive. A demonstration of how to innovation can be applied is obtained, if it not always required by the people. Number 4. Application of innovation. After it's demonstrated that the innovation is significant and the revisions can be made to fit it to the needs of the people. Its applications increased and popularized. Number 5. Adoption of innovation. The innovation gradually becomes more a part of the social norms of the people.
On an individual basis, the acceptance of innovations may take the following order. The innovators, the first to adopt a new practice in a locality, they are willing and able to take the risk. Those who are willing and able to be the first to embrace a different practice in their community. The early adopters, those who watch the innovators and accept practices that in their judgment work out successfully. Those who pay attention to the innovators and approve techniques that in their opinion succeed. The early majority adopters, those who follow the lead of the early adopters, they must be quite sure the practice will work out well in their venture. Those that take over the role of the early adopters must be certain that the practices will benefit for their business. The late majority adopters, those who follow practices and advice of the early majority adopters, they are willing to take risks. Individuals who are prepared to take risks and follow the techniques and advice of the early majority adopters. Laggards and non-adopters, those who, because of isolation or negative motivation, are slow to adopt the practices, and those who never adopt them because of age and other circumstances. Those who are slow to embrace the habits due to isolation or bad motivation, as well as those who never adopt them due to the age of other reasons. On an institutional basis, the order to social change is as follows. Changes in technology. People can grasp the significance of a new object more easily than they can grasp a new idea. Application in changes in technology by economic institutions. Frequently, the first to experience the effect of technological advances because their primary purpose is to generate and distribute commodities and services. The impact of changes in other social institutions. Development in institutional arrangements are frequently associated with changes in family, religion, school, government, and other institutions. The penetration of social values. Social values are deeply rooted at the base of social institutions and in one and more individual personality regard attempts to change social values.
And barriers and stimulants to social changes. So these barriers and stimulants may be cultural, social, or psychological. Among the values and attitudes that impede social changes are traditionalism, culturalism, ethnocentrism, pride and dignity, and norms of society. Traditionalism predisposes the society to believe that anything that happens, it will be for some supernatural force and cannot be modified by human effort. And the social barriers to change evolve patterns in cooperation, patterns of competition or conflict, authority patterns, and characteristic of social culture structure. And these psychological barriers to change may be different in perception, the problem, and communication, and learning. And next is the type of social changes. So, social change may be directed, guided, planned, and instructed, or non-distracted, unplanned, or uninstructed. And it takes place through the mass media, trade, war, intermarriage, educational exchange programs, science congresses, conference, seminars and art exhibits, travel, missionary work, beauty contests, athletic meets, and many other means. Social changes may be directed, guided, planned, structured, or non-distracted, unplanned, and unstructured. It takes place through the mass media and naulit. And while efforts along non-directed change are undoubtedly being exerted to facilitate this, and this have been more information gathered on the efforts exerted through direct change. For instance, in the Philippines community, agencies in both of public and private sectors have been set up. Each defines its own philosophy, sets goals and objectives, adapts its own approaches and techniques, initiate its project and activities, draws up its schedules, and selects its target to change within a geographical area.
My name is Mariel C. Arboleda from grade 12 Kukiri 1. Social change in Philippine society. Philippine society is in a flux change. A major consequence of change in the Philippines, which is also taking place in the other parts of the contemporary world, is modernization. This implies a change from the traditional way of life to a more complex, technologically advanced, rapidly changing style of life. The various elements of sociocultural change are industrialization, urbanization, technology, population, education, medicine, and public health and recreation. Randolph S. David cites a significant set of studies for development in the Philippines as follows. Number 1. Clarify what kind of society we have become as a function of our colonial experience. Number 2. Define the salient features of the global and regional environment within which our society is moving. and bring out the basic constraints of this supranational system. Number 3. Reveal the precise mechanism by which the existing system is able to reproduce and perpetuate itself and bring out ways the techniques of these powers as well as identify its most vulnerable points. Number 4. Identify and understand how people are able to effectively organize themselves in order to gain control over their lives, or simply effectively insulate themselves from the instabilities of the daily life. Number 5. Constantly assess the possibilities of real structural change in our society, especially by defining the basic characteristics of the environment within which people movement for change must operate and formulate the conditions under which spontaneous people's organization can become part of a larger process of societal revivals. And number 6, conceptualize a version of alternative structures in conformity with our people's desire for a free, just, dignified, and prosperous life for all.